I would not be able to afford to have as many Riparium tanks as I do if I didn't have these 10 hacks that save me money. Many of these hacks can be applied to traditional aquariums as well. Several of the hacks on this list have their own video link, which I will include down in the description below, so be sure to check those out after this video. Propagate your own riparian plants. Let's face it, the cost of buying riparian plants can add up quickly, especially for a larger tank. And if it's a plant you've never grown before, it can feel risky setting that entire plant in your tank. So propagating through cuttings and divisions is an easy way to mitigate the cost, but also give you peace of mind. So the next time you buy a riparian plant, just pot it up in soil as a regular house plant, but take cuttings and divisions from it and grow those in your riparium. This will save you a ton of money in the long run, and if the propagation doesn't survive in the water for whatever reason, then you haven't lost that entire plant that you just paid for. Number 2, DIY Riparium Planters. You can easily buy already made planters, which is so convenient, but you can just as easily make your own for less money. For larger tanks, I like to use one pond basket planter like this, made for outdoor ponds, and cut it apart and reattach it to make 2 planters using cable ties. Then take a rubber coated gear tie like this, it's almost like a reusable twist tie, and use it as a hook to hang the basket on the back of your tank. For smaller tanks, I like to use egg crate panels and cable ties, and I can make any variety of size and shape planter to fit my needs. And I can hang these on the back of the tank with these plastic hooks. And these hooks work great on 10-gallon and 29-gallon rimmed tanks like the ones behind me. But these hooks are too small to use on larger rimmed tanks. This one is made from egg crate panel and pieces of PVC pipe. Now this is designed specifically to hold pothos cuttings. You can just put 1 cutting or 2 cuttings in each pipe. So as you can see, your imagination is the only limit here. Number 3 is lighting. You don't have to buy expensive grow lights for your plants. You may even be able to use what you already have. Here are a few options I like to use. First are these clamp-on work lights. They're versatile. You can use them almost anywhere. And I use a standard household LED light bulb. But you can also use a full spectrum grow light bulb in these if you want to. Another good option for larger setups especially are these LED shop lights. You just want to make sure that they have a daylight brightness level of 5,000 Kelvin color temperature or higher. If you need an aquarium light, Hygger makes a good low profile full spectrum light. Is a good quality option and is a heck of a lot cheaper than more expensive brands. Make your own substrate. For a planted tank, you could buy brands like EcoComplete or 88 Aquasoil, something like that, but a much more cost-effective method is to make your own substrate using organic potting soil or even healthy garden soil and a thick layer of sand on top. This deep substrate method works fantastic for growing plants in your tank, but there is some specific instruction on how to do this correctly. Now I can show you how to do this in some of my previous videos, but the real master of this method, in my opinion, is Father Fish. So check out his channel link in the description below to learn everything you need to know about deep substrated aquariums. Now if you don't want a dirt substrate but instead just want gravel or sand, instead of using aquarium gravel or aquarium sand, you can use all-purpose bagged gravel or sand from a home improvement store. Now these are safe to use as long as they're relatively clean, and you will likely need to wash these out before putting them in your tank anyway. You just want to make sure that there's no chemical odor or oil residue or anything like that on the material. I've used all of these cheap substrate methods and they've all worked great for me. Our next money-saving hack is DIY fertilizer tabs. I personally have never bought manufactured fertilizer tabs for my tanks because it's so easy to make my own using Osmocote fertilizer and gel caps. This does require some upfront cost, but it's so much cheaper in the long run than using the pre-made tabs. Now, I don't recommend using these in a gravel-only substrate because the fertilizer can leach out into the water column and cause problems. So I only use these in deep, dirted substrates. But they're so effective at growing aquarium plants, but also riparian plants when their roots are growing down into the substrate. Number 6 is find your own driftwood and botanicals. If you have a backyard or access to a wooded area, you may be able to find your own driftwood and botanicals like leaves and seed pods. The most important things to remember are only use dead wood and already fallen leaves. Avoid using material from evergreen conifers like pine, cedar, or spruce. And be sure not to use materials in polluted areas or where herbicides and pesticides are used. I like to use a variety of botanicals in my tanks to provide beneficial tannins for the fish, but also to help just give a natural look to my setup. DIY Riparium Lids. The problem I have found with standard aquarium lids is that it can be difficult to grow riparian plants. So I make my own lids with double-walled polycarbonate greenhouse panels. They're easy to customize to fit my needs. They're lightweight, they're durable, not fragile like glass. The only downside is they may not be cost-effective if you have just one small tank, because they come in a 2-foot by 8-foot panel from the home improvement store, which costs me around $40. But if you have multiple tanks, you can make several lids with just one $40 panel. Smaller size panels are available on Amazon, but at a higher price point, so you would have to determine the cost and potential savings for your own needs. But it still may be worth it to have a customized lid that allows you to grow those beautiful riparian plants. So far, I've made 5 lids out of one $40 panel, and I still have plenty left over. So this hack has definitely saved me money. Number 8. The cheapest algae scraper ever. These plastic gift cards and credit cards make the best algae scrapers. They're easy to clean the glass with, they are flexible, and this gives them another purpose, and it keeps them out of the landfills. Just make sure to use expired cards. Number 9, use hydrogen peroxide to help control algae. Sometimes my tanks get way too much algae. Is it just me? Do you have this problem? I don't think algae is the devil. It has its place in nature and in a healthy tank system. But if you have so much algae that it's smothering your plants or just taking over your tank, then that's a sign you have too many nutrients in the water, too much light, or you have a new tank that's just not yet balanced. Either way, while I'm working on the underlying problem, I'll use 3% hydrogen peroxide as an algicide. Not something I want to do all the time, because it can be harmful to your beneficial bacteria if done excessively. But it's a great way to knock the algae in the head while you're working on that underlying problem. I will mix 5 to 10 milliliters of peroxide per 10 gallons of aquarium water. And for my stock tanks out in the greenhouse, I will use a half a cup of peroxide per 100 gallons of water. Wait 2 to 3 days after mixing it in, and then do a heavy water change and try to vacuum up and remove as much dead algae as possible. Now, this method even works for me on cyanobacteria, although many times an additional treatment is required. Now, hydrogen peroxide is not going to cure all of your algae problems, but it can be a safer way to help manage the excessive algae and keep you from using harsher chemicals. And the number 10 hack is modify your hang-on-the-back filter. Now, if you have a HOB filter and you're using those disposable filter cartridges, then this one hack is going to save you a ton of money. Instead of using those disposable cartridges, I use lava rock inside the filter unit and a sponge pre-filter over the intake. Now, the pre-filter is going to take out most of the debris, but the lava rock houses beneficial bacteria that's going to feed on the nutrients, the nitrogen in the water that's produced by the fish waste. Now, this is a great way to maximize your filtration without having to keep buying those filter cartridges over and over again. Well, don't forget to check out all the links down in the description. And I hope that these 10 hacks will help save you money just like they do for me. Now, what are some other money-saving hacks that you like to use? Please let me know down in the comments section. Well, thanks for watching. Until next time, remember, it's all about the plants.